So I'm sitting here shaking my head at black people because when the topic of biracial people comes up in a discussion among black people, I don't know what's worse at this point. The black stupidity on the subject or the biracial and mixed race hypocrisy on the subject. Because black people and biracial people, when it comes to this topic, we go full blown retarded and we make it way more complicated than it has to be. And I'll tell you what I mean by that in a moment. But for those of you who follow Madame Noir here on YouTube, you may have seen that I made a comment on their recent video that they did about biracial children and should they be considered black. And the topic pretty much stemmed from Crystal making a tweet. And if you guys don't know who Crystal is, she's one of the hosts from the podcast titled The Read that airs on SoundCloud. But Crystal made a tweet. She was responding to a tweet that some non-black woman made. I don't know what race she is. But the woman made a tweet about black men stating that the only reason non-black women want them is for their penis and to have black babies. And I'm laughing because it goes in line with what I just said in my black men and bottom shelf white women video. I was spot on about that. And the woman said it was a joke. She said she was joking. I don't believe it was a joke. I think she was dead serious. I think that's how a lot of them feel. And, I just think she tried to retract her statement because, Black Twitter was pretty much lighting her ass up about it. But I'm just saying, I felt like I was pretty spot on about that. But I digress from that. That's not what this video is about. So basically, Crystal responded saying that she wasn't going to defend black men because she doesn't feel like black men defend us how they should. However, what she did say to the non-black woman was that your kids will never be black, sweetheart. They're going to be biracial. So, of course, that sent black Twitter into a uproar because we all know that most black people just have to include biracials. They just have to make them black, okay? They have to be a part of them. They have to make them black just like them, right? So, of course, somebody brought up Obama like they always do. And they're like, but Obama's black. And of course, Crystal clarified that. And she was like, no, Obama's actually biracial. His mother is white. He is half black. And then someone clocked her on something she said about Obama's kids being black. And Crystal said, no, wait a minute. They're 3/4 black. So they are black to me. And, Obama has a white mother. He's biracial. So, of course, Black Twitter was in disagreement about it. They were calling her stupid. And, the ladies of Madame Noir, when they did their commentary, they pretty much agreed with the straight up stupidity, what I feel is stupidity of Black Twitter, saying how, it was silly, how we need to include them, we need to come together, we can't afford to alienate mixed people, and just all those bullshit talking points that Black people like to hit on when the topic of biracials comes up. And listen, you guys, I would totally 100% agree with all of that Black unity stuff and including biracials and mixed people if I felt that most mixed people were genuine about Black unity and Black empowerment and they didn't isolate themselves as mixed people, especially mixed women. I feel like they're Black when convenient, and I've said this before, they're only Black when topics like this come up. Any other time, they're relishing in their privilege and they're soaking up all of the opportunities in the Black community with not a care in the world. They look out for their own best interest, and that's what they do. And the true hypocrisy of it all is, again, when topics come up like this, they're all of a sudden just as Black as we are, and we're just as mixed as they are, right? It's like, oh, well, Black Americans aren't pure Africans, so you're mixed too. And it's all about DNA, right? And the hypocrisy of that is they get mad at Black people like me who don't identify them as Black, right? They say, well, you're not allowed to take away my Blackness. I have a Black parent and I'm Black too. Yet by and large, mixed people don't identify Black Americans as being mixed based on how we look, right? All of a sudden, all of us are mixed because we're Black Americans. Then all of a sudden, it's all about DNA. As if I, as a dark skinned woman with kinky hair, a dark skinned Black woman with kinky hair, can go up to a mixed person or most mixed people and say, oh, I'm mixed just like you because I'm, 10 or 15% European. Like, as if I could go up to them and say that. If I could go up to most mixed people and say that and not get laughed out of the room. They are full of shit. I'm sorry. And I want you Black people to really understand what it is that they're saying. They're telling us that, we can't tell them that they're not Black because they have, Black DNA. But they can tell us that we're not mixed if we look a certain way, even though we have non-Black DNA, right? But again, in the same breath, anytime this topic comes up, all of a sudden all Black Americans suddenly become mixed and looks don't matter and we're all the same and only DNA matters. Do you guys understand how hypocritical and asinine that argument is? And that's what I see a lot of under my videos about this, right? It's like, why does everything have to be about looks, Chrissy? You're so superficial, Chrissy. We're all mixed, Chrissy. But my thing is, when it's you guys in your spaces, when it's all about the mixed race and biracial people and about your plight, when you're discussing the plight of a biracial person or a mixed person in America in your spaces, it is centered around your racially ambiguous appearance. Yes, it's also centered around the different cultures, from your parents. But it is largely centered around your racially ambiguous appearance, your phenotype, and how people in the world respond to that, right? I've been to your websites that a lot of you mixed race people have for each other. I've seen the covers of your books that you have dedicated to mixed race people. And on these, books and websites, you are showcasing racially ambiguous looking people. You're not showcasing quote unquote regular looking Black people who may have, 10, 15, or 20% European in their blood, right? So that's why that argument is so stupid. Your entire platform is heavily based on your appearance. So don't try to insult my intelligence and say that looks have nothing to do with it. Looks have everything to do with it, especially when you're being favored over Black people for how you look, because of how you look, right? And I hate when Black people and biracials just go full blown retarded about this, and because it's not really hard to understand. Biracial people are mixed, right? They have their own exclusive group. They always have. They have for a very long time, right? And it's largely based on how they look. And also, I don't really care if all mixed race people aren't light skinned with curly hair. I'm so tired of hearing that too. I know that all mixed race people aren't light skinned with curly hair. You guys don't have to educate me on that, okay? However, again, look up these mixed race websites, these Instagram pages dedicated to mixed race women, and, Facebook pages dedicated to mixed race women. Tell me how many dark and brown skinned, kinky haired, mixed race women are on these pages. You might find a few here and there, right? But usually, in order to get a spot on these pages, something about you has to be ambiguous looking, right? They have their group based on how they look as mixed people, racially ambiguous mixed people. So why can't we have our own group based on how we look as Black people, right? Why aren't we allowed that? And, this is honestly why I have more respect for, that small number of biracial people who come to my page and under my videos and they're like, thank you for saying this. And they're really honest about it. And they're like, I'm biracial. I'm not Black or whatever else, they're mixed with. They're like, I'm not Black. I identify as biracial. I respect that. Yes, we can coexist. Yes, we can both be down for the cause, but we are different with different experiences, and we are part of a different group, and that is okay. It's like you guys need to take your emotions out of it and look at it logically and realistically. Doesn't matter how whites identify us. We don't have to go by the one drop rule. We don't have to go by that. And to address what Crystal said about Obama's children being 3/4 black, or what do they call? Some of them call them quadroons or quarteroons or whatever. I agree with Crystal. I identify them as black as well. But I don't feel like I feel like it's being overcomplicated. I don't feel like the percentage is really that necessary. And I'm going to give you the reason why. Matter of fact, I'm going to give you guys an example. Kit Shapiro or Kit McDonald. I've mentioned her in the comment section. I'm not sure if I've mentioned her on a video. But Kit Shapiro is the daughter of the legendary Eartha Kitt. Everybody knows who Eartha Kitt is, right? And if you don't, Google her. But Eartha Kitt had a daughter by a white man. Okay, she had Kit by a white man. Kit is white passing, but she is a mixed woman. Okay, look at this woman, you guys. Now, by your logic, and I'm talking to the black and biracial people that disagree with me, by your logic, Kit Shapiro is black and should be able to identify as a black woman. Now, looking at this white passing woman, I dare anyone to say that looks don't matter, that phenotype does not matter, and it's all about DNA after looking at this white passing woman. Tell me if she would be featured on any mixed girl page. Tell me if, and I'm talking to the biracials right now, tell me if she could come up to you and talk about her plight in America as a mixed race woman. Tell me if she could do that. Tell me if you would actually relate to her. You would not relate to her, and she wouldn't relate to you. The only people she would relate to is other white passing mixed people. Okay? So, phenotype is what matters the most, not DNA. Phenotype is how we identify people, whether you guys like it or not. Okay? And I'll take it a step further to discuss, what Crystal said about Sasha and Malia being 3/4 black. Kit Shapiro has kids with a white man, okay? Her kids are 3/4 white. Look at these kids. Look at these white ass fucking kids. Are they white or are they mixed to you? Let's not get retarded, black people. Let's not get full blown retarded. You look at these kids, they look white. They're white, okay? And we black people, if we saw them walking down the street, we would identify them as white people. Okay, and looking at these kids, so much for all this dominant black gene bullshit niggas love to talk about online. Those hotep niggas. It's like, because all it takes is a few generations to wash that shit right the fuck out. It's not complicated. It's always been about our looks over DNA. And you guys can say what you want, but that's what it is. And it's so funny to me how many white Americans are just as mixed as black Americans, yet we consider most of them plain old white when we look at them. Unless, of course, they are racially ambiguous, like say a white person is mixed with Asian, right? And they have really prominent Asian features and you can tell they're not just white. We would look at them and consider them to be racially ambiguous, or we would question if they were mixed, right? We know how to make that distinction with other races of people. We know how to identify whiteness, right? We know how to define whiteness, but when it comes to our own community, we make it more complicated than it is, and we don't know how to define blackness. It is fucking retarded, black people. It's dumb. Then you wonder why, so much confusion is happening in the black community and everyone is allowed to represent us in the media. And, anytime we have the slightest bit of control over our own platforms and our spaces, we do it to ourselves as well. We throw up all the light and brightest women and we say that they're black, right? And then we wonder why the spokesperson for blackness is always racially ambiguous looking, and brown and dark-skinned black women get less opportunities, and we are always pushed to the bottom. And we bitch and complain about it, yet we refuse to set a clear standard for blackness. You keep including them, and they don't give a single fuck about you. They don't give a single fuck about colorism and how they're stepping on your toes and taking all of your opportunities. Zoe could have turned down the role for Nina Simone. I said this before. She could have turned down that role, but she didn't. Right? She didn't care enough about Nina Simone. She didn't care enough about black women and colorism to turn down that role. But we sure care enough about her to defend her about it, right? We care enough about her to defend her, even though she shit on Nina Simone. Why? That doesn't make sense. Black women especially are letting biracial women straight play your ass in the media. And the worst part is you're not making them take any accountability for it, as if they don't know what the fuck they're doing. And for those of you who accuse me of being divisive, listen, I can't divide something that's already divided. Let's be clear on that. These women collectively know they're overrepresented, yet they ain't trying to do nothing about it in the name of Black unity, but I'm divisive? And I'm not saying that they should, skip out on their opportunities. I'm just saying they're looking out for themselves. They're looking out for their best interests as mixed and biracial women. So I am going to look out for the interests of Black women and dark-skinned women the way they look out for them. I can count on one hand how many biracial people have spoken out on our behalf as being underrepresented and undervalued in the media. Soledad O'Brien, Michaela Davis, right? People like that. So there are a few of biracial women who really kind of talk about colorism, and they kind of, really tell the truth about it, and they're completely honest and raw about it. But for the most part, a lot of these biracial women in the spotlight, they drop the topic of colorism like it's hot, and you guys know it. Okay? They don't speak on our behalf, yet we're supposedly in this together, right? How are we in this together when you don't care about my plight as a Black woman or a dark-skinned Black woman, right? It's like, how are we to end this together when you don't care about my representation or lack thereof, right? It's like when they change and they're serious about ending colorism and they admit to the part they play, and they're really about Black unity like they claim they are, I promise I will shut up about it. When they start acting like we're really into this, in this together, I will act like that too. They don't really care about colorism and our underrepresentation as dark-skinned women and Black women in the media because it's not really their problem, right? It's not their problem. And if we were them, we probably wouldn't care either. Let's just keep it real. If we were getting most of the opportunities, we wouldn't care, right? So it's up to us to care and look out for ourselves, right? And do something about it. But Black women collectively, we're so stupid and trying to be all inclusive that we get played every time. And we do things that are very counterproductive to what would help us, right? We're allowing ourselves to get played. And, I'm just like, keep playing, Black women. You think it's bad now? You think the whitewashing is bad now? Pretty soon, the face of Black women will look closer to Kit Shapiro. She won't have hardly any melanin whatsoever, and she won't have not a curl to that hair. Okay? She's going to look pretty much like a white woman. But there will be some Black people saying, oh, she's mixed. She's Black too. She can come. She can represent us. Who cares? Okay, keep playing. Don't say I didn't warn you. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section, and I will catch up with you guys next video.